Jesse! Jesse!
Oh my gosh, Amber.
I can't sleep.
What time is it?
Ugh.
Oh my gosh, it's 4:30 in the morning.
I know. Oh, tell me a story. Please.
What kind of story do you want to hear?
I want to hear a story about a magical creature.
Okay, I will tell you a story about a white whale. Call me Ishmael. Some time ago, never mind
Moby
how
Dick.
long.
Stop. No, stop.
What?
That's too much.
Too much story?
Yeah.
How about a story about a golden apple?
Yes. And a magical bird.
This is a story called Baba Yaga.
And the Firebird.
Once upon a time, not so long ago, in a land not so far away from here, Tsar Demyan lived in his kingdom with his 3 sons.
The Tsar had a beautiful garden with many trees and flowers. But his favorite was an apple tree which bore golden apples that shone like the sun. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful.
Thank you. Early one morning, while quietly strolling in his garden, the Tsar noticed that one of his golden apples was missing. That night he set his eldest son, Peter, the task of guarding the tree and catching the thief. But the boy fell asleep, and in the morning another apple was missing. The next night, the second son, Vasily, tried to catch the thief, but he too fell asleep, and the Tsar lost another apple. On the third evening, Ivan Tsarovich, the youngest son, was set the task. He was determined not to fall asleep like his brothers, so he paced the garden the whole night long. In the wee small hours, something glimmered in the distance, and a light flew through the air. The whole garden grew as bright as day. It was the Firebird. It perched on the apple tree and pecked at one of the apples. Ivan crept along the ground and leapt up at the Firebird and grabbed it by its tail.
But the Firebird was too strong. It flew away, leaving one of its fiery feathers in his hand.
I will leave my home before anyone else is awake. Go after the Firebird and bring it home to Father. Better keep this safe and sound.
Tucking the feather carefully away, he summoned his horse with the golden mane.
Lord of all the horses, and you've been my friend for some time. Whoa, bareback, don't mind if I do. Whoa, show us the meaning of haste.
When the Tsar awoke and found another apple and his youngest son missing, he became very angry. He called out to Peter and Vasily.
Vasily! Saddle your horses and find the thief who stole my apples and now my favorite son!
Favorite?
Go!
The Tsar's famous tree lost no more apples, but he no longer even cared, because now all 3 of his sons were gone. He and all the people of his kingdom fell into years of sorrow and deep regret.
Meanwhile, Ivan had come to a crossroads marked by a stone pillar, upon which was written,
If you ride straight on, you will grow cold and hungry. If you turn to the right, you will live, but your horse will die. If you turn to the left, you will die, but your horse will live.
Ivan did not want to die, so he turned to the right.
Immediately, a large gray wolf leapt from the shadows and tore his horse in two. Ivan wept in despair. Without his horse, he knew he could never find the Firebird and bring him home.
You read what it said on the pillar. You chose the road. Still, I feel sorry for you. Jump on my back and we'll go to Baba Yaga's house in the forest. Her new raven knows where to find the waters of life and death, and we can bring your horse back to life.
So Ivan did what he was told. He jumped on the Grey Wolf's back, and soon they were clearing whole mountains and valleys with a single stride.
Hold on. We're going to go Festa!
You're the best!
Glad you liked it. Oh, ticklish. How about a taste of your own medicine?
When they arrived at Baba Yaga's house, she was curled up and sleeping inside it, her body filling the whole space.
Her raven was keeping watch from the rooftop and was, at first, suspicious of the visitors. But when she heard their tale, was moved to help them. Truth be told, the raven loved to journey to the sacred waters, but she would only be able to go if Ivan and the wolf agreed to take up her watch over sleeping Baba Yaga. This they agreed to do. The raven was gone a long time. Baba Yaga slept on. Ivan and the wolf waited. Finally, the raven returned with a bottle of sacred water tied to each of her legs, and many stories to tell. Ivan thanked her, promised to return someday to listen to her tales, jumped on the wolf's back, and away they ran back to save the horse.
The wolf sprinkled the two halves with the waters of death, and they knit back together. He sprinkled the waters of life on the body, and it shuddered, scrambled to its feet, shook its head, and tossed its golden mane. Ivan was overjoyed and thanked the wolf.
The wolf told him how to get to the kingdom of Koschei the Deathless, for this was where the Firebird lived.
Before you go, a word of warning. Take the bird, but not the cage. If you do, all is lost.
Ivan agreed, and they parted ways.
The road to Koschei's kingdom was dark and cold. Along the way, he saw statues of people and animals frozen in the snow. He shivered and tucked his coat closer around the glowing feather that kept him warm and gave him hope. After a long time, he came upon a clearing in the woods and knew by the warm glow that shone up into the night sky he had come to the end of his journey. He tied his horse to a tree and crept to the side of the clearing. There sat the beautiful Firebird in its golden cage. Ivan wondered how to capture the bird without the cage, when Vasilisa, the most beautiful girl he had ever seen, came from the icy house to bring the Firebird a golden apple. Ivan fell in love with her on the spot. But Vasilisa, her heart frozen by Koschei's evil enchantment, felt only fear. Ivan decided then and there to take Vasilisa with him. But to do that, he had to take the Firebird in his cage.
The bells attached to the cage by the long ropes rang out and woke the evil Koschei. He arrived in a fury and in one icy blast turned Ivan into a statue of snow. Koschei then cursed all those who had helped Ivan in his quest. The horse with the golden mane, the wolf, the raven, and Baba Yaga herself were all transformed into pillars of ice and snow. They became frozen in time, like the hundreds of others he had bewitched in the past. Only the Firebird withstood the wizard's curse. He screamed out in fury against Koschei's great evil.
The awful cry woke Vasilisa from her frozen state. When she saw Ivan turn to snow, she cried out in sorrow.
No!
and found her heart in her tears.
Ooh!
As her heart melted, she fell deeply in love with Ivan.
Ooh.
And with that, Koschei's spell of many ages began to dim. Ivan, his horse, the wolf, and all the people Koschei had frozen began to thaw.
All evil things eventually fail, and when they do, the evil turns inward. So it was with Koschei. As the cold crept through his body, he struggled to make it to the warmth and safety of the Firebird, but he did not succeed. The Firebird flew from his cage, settled on the branch of a tree, and waited for the wizard to freeze. Then he shook himself, scattering his glowing feathers all over the ground. Vasilisa and Ivan gathered them up and gave them to the people who came from the woods, and the people who came from the valleys, and the people who came from the mountains, all to witness Koschei turn into a pillar of snow.
As Koschei froze, a realization dawned throughout the kingdom. Koschei never had any real power over anyone.
Years of regret had frozen the hearts of the town people. This is what made them vulnerable to his spell. They decided they would each take 2 of the feathers from the Firebird,
One to light the way and warm their hearts.
and 1 on which to write their regrets.
These they would take with them on the long journey home and burn so they would be free forevermore.
It was a triumphant procession led by Ivan, Vasilisa, and the Firebird that reached the kingdom of Tsar Demyan, where they found a great welcome.
The people of the kingdom had long realized their pain from losing the 3 princes had come from their deep regret. So they built a spirit house in the center of the village, wrote their regrets on pieces of red paper shaped like feathers, and set them on fire so they could be free.
This they did with great joy.
Ivan and Vasilisa were married,
The Firebird danced and flew to the apple tree
took the largest golden apple to great applause.
and disappeared into the night.
The
End.